Hello and welcome back to the Fracking Farmhouse. Evidence-based rants on fracking with cats, as it says in the thing, and Jelly's here with us. Right, evidence-based because the government's been busy publishing things. Nice, colourful, two-sided, simple documents. Just like fracking news, you see? They're copying us. And it's all basically to say, you know, how safe fracking is, you see, and energy security, climate change, shale gas and climate change. I'm going to concentrate on this one. I think we've got a whole series here, facts about fracking, environmental controls. We're going to do a lot on these, but can we concentrate on, Jelly, shale gas and climate change? Because one of the things that I'm passionate about is climate change, because being a gardener, I'm seeing the climate changing and we really need to act on it. And getting more fossil fuel out of the ground is not the way to go about it. So how on earth are they saying that developing shale gas while meeting the UK's carbon emissions goals? Right, what they did, they went to the Committee on Climate Change, who are very clever people, and they commissioned a report, which is this, onshore petroleum, the compatibility of UK onshore petroleum while meeting the UK's carbon budgets, right? And it's really well documented. This is what we're talking about, evidence-based. And it comes in on the executive summary. These are the people here. They're lots of very clever people. And it says, executive summary, our assessment is that exploiting shale gas by fracking on a significant scale is not compatible with UK climate targets. Oh, well, there we go. Then we can all go home, can't we? Pack up and don't do it. But there's a but. There's a but. Because the fossil fuel industry are very, very, very powerful people. So they've got, unless 3 tests are met. Can I draw an analogy here? Imagine you're a donut producer and you wanted people to say, can people eat 50 donuts a day and remain healthy and underweight? And then you go to research, evidence-based research, and it says, no, eating 50 donuts a day is not compatible with losing weight and being healthy. And they go, oh no, donut producer, that's not good. What if you run a triathlon every day? Well, yeah, if you run a triathlon every day, you can probably eat 50 donuts and still stay slim. Aha, right. Those are the 3 tests, and this is what they've done. The Climate Change Committee have got 3 tests, 3 very, very, very difficult tests to meet, and if you meet them all, we can remain in the budget. So they reference here a document so that you can do a bit more research yourself. But what they don't reference this document, which is the report on the Committee of Climate Change. This is technical, but we've got worth going for. They reference this document, which is the government response to the climate change report. So what happened? We got a climate change report that says our assessment is that exploiting shale gas by fracking is not compatible with carbon targets, because that makes sense. And then the government, in other words, the fossil fuel companies in disguise, produced this. And this document is so interesting. Really, honestly, it is. But we have to get a bit deeper. Okay, so test 1, and like this basically saying, we're going back to the donuts analogy. Okay, so you can eat 50 donuts a day as long as you run a triathlon every day. And they're saying, but that's okay, because we've got a bike, we've got some swimming trunks and some running shoes, so let's get the donuts out, you know? Right. Test 1 from the climate change people, the Committee on Climate Change. They say test 1 is there shouldn't be fugitive emissions of methane. Right? There shouldn't be methane leaking out of the wells. And that happens in America, and methane's a really bad greenhouse gas. So if the wells leak, then you might as well burn coal, you know, because there's so much greenhouse gases in the area. And it's really difficult to stop things leaking because they have to build so many wells, and they're jerry built, you know, they just knock together really quickly. So it's difficult to stop them leaking. But the response from the fossil fuel companies, i.e. the Department of Business Energy, the monitoring, Jelly's had enough, it's a bit complicated for her. Monitoring of any methane emissions from shale wells is also covered by the Environment Agency permit. During operations, the operator will be required to undertake environmental monitoring, including emissions monitoring. Okay, so we've got companies that we don't really trust doing this, and we're saying a really significant thing is methane emissions, but we'll get the companies to monitor them. It's like, as another analogy, it's like saying, homework results are really bad at school this year. Now we'll let the children mark their own homework. Oh, look at this! All their results went up. Hooray, we've solved the problem. We'll get the industry to monitor methane emissions, and then they won't have methane emissions. Donald Trump found a similar way of doing it. He stopped them measuring methane emission leaks in America to keep them on track. So that's test 1. Test 2, consumption. Gas consumption must remain in line with carbon budget requirements. And this is actually the easiest one of the 3. This is I've got a bike and I'm going to ride 60 miles a day. It's fine, it's just don't burn more gas. We've got to keep burning less gas. So we can have shale gas and burn less gas. We just have to not buy these imports, right? So what we've got to do is turn around to places like Norway and Qatar, where we get our gas from already, and say, keep your gas in the ground, because if you burn your gas, it will trigger global climate change. But we'll just get our gas out because we don't want to buy yours. So if you look at it globally, it's insane. It's like saying the reservoirs that are already tapped and we're already taking gas out of the ground, we've got to stop doing that in order that we can do this dangerous thing at home, shale gas. So that's test 2. Final test, test 3, is right, accommodating shale gas production emissions within carbon budgets. This is the trickiest one, right? When you make a shale gas well, like up the road at Marsh Lane, 14,000 truck movements, or vehicle movements, not all of them are trucks, 14,000 vehicle movements are generated. They've all got diesel engines, so that's creating a load of CO2. Then you've got to put 2 miles of steel pipe into the ground that's going to stay there. That's never recyclable, that's staying there. Steel pipe has a big carbon footprint when you make steel. And surrounding the steel pipe, you've got cement and concrete. And that's got a huge carbon footprint making cement and concrete. That's going in the ground. So all these are unnecessary carbon emissions associated, well they're inevitable if you're going to develop fracking industry on scale. And the climate people are saying, if you're going to stay within your carbon budgets, you've got to offset all those emissions by not emitting elsewhere in the economy. And we're already trying not to emit elsewhere in the economy. They worked out in their sums and graphs that we've got to cut at least the amount that agriculture is expected to cut in the next 5 years. I find that much again. And agriculture's got a huge carbon footprint. It's working it's very difficult to reduce it. So we've got to find this from anywhere else. What does the fossil fuel industry, in other words, the Department of Energy and Climate Change, say? Meeting test 3. The government's commitment to meeting carbon budgets means that any additional emissions from shale gas production would be accommodated within carbon budgets and offset by lower emissions in other sectors. Given this, the government is confident that the 3 tests can be met. It just doesn't stand up. They're saying, well, because we're committed to meeting carbon budgets, we'll find those savings elsewhere. All those emissions from building an infrastructure to take shale gas out the ground will be found elsewhere. So it's not a problem. I've bought a pair of running shoes, so running a marathon every day, it's not a problem. Give me 50 donuts, I'm all right with that. And just one final note on this. This was just the climate change aspect of it. The Committee on Climate Change were keen to point out that it is outside the scope of the committee's legal remit to investigate the other issues that have been raised in relation to the development of shale gas. Impacts on water, local noise, traffic, seismic activity and the wider environment and health. All those things they're not thinking about. They're just saying it's impossible to develop a shale gas industry without exceeding our climate change targets unless you do 3 impossible things. Meanwhile, the government's saying, It's all right, we'll just do 3 impossible things. Get on with it, frackers. The government are in the pockets of the fossil fuel industry and they need to be stopped because we've only got one planet. We've got to stop it now. Sorry that's been a bit technical, but it's evidence-based. It's all there. You can find the stuff online. There'll be links at the end of this. Thank you for watching the Fracking Farmhouse. If you like what you see, me and Oscar say, please click like and please subscribe to our channel. And please share it with your friends. Let's get this thing out on Facebook. We are trying to get the message out there. We don't need fracking. Thank you very much.